Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and after my first video introducing the game No Man's Sky, the most common question I received was regarding multiplayer and the open world experience that will be present. So to answer the question, is there multiplayer in No Man's Sky? The answer is sort of. The bottom line mathematical thought here is that the universe is so large and is likely to continue to grow even though there are some boundaries, is that the chances of running into another person is incredibly unlikely. Now, you should kind of get the feeling that there's been someone there before, kind of based on naming conventions and when you're looking at like creatures and the planets, not to mention structures and other items that they may get left behind. So you get that general feel that Sean Murray's team is going for, that there was somebody present before you without actually having to see them. Now, you may also be in a firefight, notice an enemy ship that's flying different from other typical NPCs, or maybe even some in your faction that just turn out to be way more proficient than your typical wingman, or even potentially being planetside and being attacked without any warning. Those could all be real players, and that could be the extent of multiplayer in this game. Now, the decision to not fully encourage multiplayer gaming seems to really be more of a design decision as opposed to a technical limitation on their game systems. Sean Murray said that they aren't trying to be the next Destiny or some other MMO or team deathmatch type game, but instead they want to try and give people a feeling for what it would be like in the massive universe that we have today, that overall sense of isolation. In fact, they want you to experience it so much and have just the experience be so big that you start to ask existential questions like, who are we and what are we doing out here? And I think that design decision is fine, but my problem with it is that based on what I feel is going to be fairly common interactions with NPCs, it's not really like the experience is being impacted. So the experience isn't really saying that there aren't other ships and people in space. The experience is saying that there aren't many other real players in space. And that's sort of an arbitrary distinction in my mind, and I think is where we're kind of missing a little piece that I think a lot of people would really appreciate. Now, your friends are going to show up in a friends list, and you're supposed to be able to see your friends on a galactic map according to some sources. So you could end up going to meet them, but it would take you a long time to meet up with them based on your location, their location, and that travel time between you two. Add to that once you actually get there, you land on a planet, a real-sized planet, and then you would have to find somebody else on the planet. That's like you trying to connect with somebody else on planet Earth from the other side. It would be very difficult. It's a challenging experience, even though it's technically plausible. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some indicator of where your friends are at on the surface. There probably should be, but there hasn't really been any indication or mention of that from the developers at this point. I think the simplest way to find your buddies is to realize that we're all starting spread out on the outer areas of the galaxy, and since galaxies have centers, start flying towards the center. We also think we know that different sectors of space are going to have different names, so you could start to narrow things down from there. You can maybe find distinctive locations, maybe an oddly colored star on the map or some super giant star that you could use as like a waypoint or kind of a target. Every system is also supposed to have a station, so meeting there is likely going to be your significantly best chances of meeting up with somebody. Finding someone on a station where there's probably numbers and things that'll help you find people is going to be a lot easier than planetside. Now, every person technically carries with them their own lobby of unknown size. But what that means is that if you find your friends, you can technically fly and stay together. The finding each other is the hard part, though, and you almost have to go into this game with that sense of that being your purpose. Everybody has a sector of space, and everybody meets there. You almost need that game plan before you even start. So the first one in starts exploring and just waits. You find the good system and let your buddies come to you, because it could take a while. Then as your group grows and you continue to find each other, you probably need to leave behind a breadcrumb trail based on naming conventions to let your friends know that they're on the right track if you're moving locations. So I think there's going to be a lot to like about No Man's Sky, and it's a game that I'm personally really excited to get into and tinker around with. But frankly, telling us that multiplayer is technically possible but mathematically improbable is a fairly crappy move by the development team. Now, there's plenty of people who want to get in and play solo, and they're not going to care. But there's plenty of people that want to play together, and that group, the social players, they're going to have to jump through some hoops unless things change as far as the implementation of the system goes, because they're going to try to do everything possible to meet up, because that's how they have fun. And that's something that I'm going to have to be doing, because I know some of the guys in my organization are wanting to do the exact same thing. So we'll see how much of a hindrance that lack of support ends up being, or if things change. But the good news is that we don't have that much longer to wait to find out. So if you have questions on any of this, please get them in the comments. For those of you that are up to date on this too, if I missed anything, please add those in as well. Otherwise, stay tuned for a whole lot more content. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.